Serah bat Asher, the woman who carried Jewish history on her shoulders. Serah bat Asher stands as one of the most unusual and powerful figures in all of Jewish history. Even though the Tanakh only mentions her 3 times, Chazal, Midrash, the Talmud, and the world of Kabbalah describe her as far more than a name in the family list. They present her as someone who stretches across generations, a living witness who connects the time of the Avot to the descent into Egypt, the slavery, the Exodus, the entry into the land of Israel, and even the days of King David. Let's look closely at what our tradition says about her life. It explores her role as the guardian of Klal Yisrael's memory and the traditions that describe her as someone who never died in the ordinary way, but instead entered Gan Eden while still alive. In the Torah itself, Serah bat Asher appears in genealogies. At first glance, this may seem small, but those short mentions are the foundation for everything Chazal built about her later. She appears in 3 places in Tanakh, and each mention helps establish her unusual position in Jewish history. In Sefer Bereshit, when the Torah lists the 70 souls who went down to Egypt with Yaakov, Serah is named among the children of Asher. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Beriah, and Serah, their sister. This is remarkable. Among the 53 grandsons of Yaakov listed there, Serah is the only granddaughter mentioned by name. The Torah does not usually list women in genealogies unless there is a special reason. Her name being included tells us she is not an ordinary figure. The second mention is in Sefer Bamidbar, during the census taken on the plains of Moab before entering Eretz Israel, where it states, "And the name of the daughter of Asher was Serah." This census takes place hundreds of years after the descent into Egypt. Chazal understood from this repetition that this must be the same Serah, meaning she lived through the entire Egyptian exile and the 40 years in the desert. Her name appears once more in Divrei Hayamim, again in the lineage of Asher. With these 3 mentions in the Torah and Nevi'im, Chazal saw a clear thread. The Torah is signaling that she spans generations in a way no one else does. Chazal also explore her background. According to Sefer HaYashar, Serah was not the biological daughter of Asher, but his stepdaughter. Midrash explains that Serah had a deeply rooted spiritual background. Both sides of her family trace back to Shem ben Noach. Her mother Hadura was the daughter of Abimael, the son of Ever, who was the son of Shem. Her biological father was Malkiel, the son of Elam, who was also the son of Shem. After Malkiel died, Asher married Hadura and adopted Serah when she was 3 years old. He raised her in the home of Yaakov. The Midrash says Yaakov loved her because of her holy behavior and her righteousness. The Gemara in Megillah even uses this case as a proof that an adopted child is illegally considered the child of the adopted parent for inheritance. Spiritually, Serah is seen as a connection to the base Midrash of Shem and Ever, the place where Avot learned the ancient traditions passed down from before the flood. Since she descended from Ever, whose name is the root of Ivri, she represents the final link to that earlier spiritual world. In that sense, she becomes the last living student of that original house of study. This explains why she could carry sacred traditions forward. She was a bridge from before the exile even began. One of the most powerful stories about Serah concerns the moment the brothers returned from Egypt and needed to tell Yaakov that Yosef was alive. For 22 years, Yaakov believed Yosef was dead. He was emotionally shattered. The brothers feared that if they told him suddenly, the shock would cause his soul to leave his body. They turned to Serah. She was known for her wisdom and for her ability to play the harp. She waited until Yaakov was standing in prayer. Then she softly played her harp and sang, "Yosef, my uncle, is alive. He rules over Egypt. Menashe and Ephraim were born upon his knees." The music allowed the news to enter slowly. It reached Yaakov's heart before it overwhelmed him. His spirit returned. The Ruach HaKodesh that had left him during his years of mourning came back. Yaakov blessed her. My daughter, may death never rule over you, because you have revived my spirit. Another version says, the mouth that told me Yosef is alive will never taste death. Before the slavery deepened, a secret phrase was passed down. Hashem told Abraham that a true redeemer would use certain words. These words were passed from Yitzchak to Yaakov to Yosef, then from Asher to Serah. When Moshe and Aaron appeared performing signs, the elders were not convinced. They asked Serah what Moshe had said. When she heard the words Pakot Pakati, she declared, this is the man who will redeem Israel, so I heard from my father. She dismissed the miracles. What mattered was the sign preserved across generations. Her confirmation gave the people confidence in Moshe. When the time of redemption arrived, Bnei Israel could not leave Egypt without fulfilling the oath to Yosef that his bones would be taken to Eretz Israel. But the Egyptians had hidden his coffin in the Nile. Some say it was made of iron or lead, so it would sink and bless the waters of the Nile. Moshe searched and could not find it. He turned to Serah. She brought him to the Nile and showed him the location. Moshe threw a plate engraved with the holy name into the river, and the coffin rose to the surface. Only then could Exodus proceed. In Psikta Gira Kahana, Rabbi Yochanan was teaching about Kriyat Yamsuf. He described the sea splitting like a lattice. Serah appeared and said, I was there. The water was not like a net. It was like clear windows. Her words taught that even though there were 12 separate paths, the tribes could see each other through transparent walls. Unity remained in separation. In the days of King David, a wise woman from Bel Bet Makkah negotiated with General Yaakov to save her city from destruction. Chazal identified her as Serah. She convinced the city to hand over Sheva ben Bichri, who had rebelled against David, to save the population. She argued that protecting David's throne, established by Hashem, was more important than shielding a traitor. Many sources say Serah never died in the usual way. Instead, she entered Gan Eden alive. Midrash lists a small group who merited this, including Hanok and Eliyahu. Serah is counted among them. If Eliyahu represents the future and the coming of Mashiach, Serah represents the past, the memory that keeps the Jewish soul alive. Zohar describes Serah as leading the righteous women in Gan Eden. 3 times a day, when the image of Yosef appears in the heavenly chambers, she leads them in praise. She bows before that light, rejoicing in her heart in restoring him to Yaakov. Kabbalah connects Serah to the 5 letters that have special form. The 5 letters that have what they call safit, a special form that is used when the letter is written at the end of the word. Mem, Nun, Tzadi, Peh, and Kaf. These letters hint to stages of redemption. Serah is especially connected to the letter Peh, the first letter of Pakot Pakati, the redemption from Mitzrayim. The 5 double letters symbolize the movement from concealment to revelation, from exile to redemption, and Serah Bat Asher stands precisely at that turning point. Among them, the letter Peh, which represents speech, expression, and awakening, becomes the key to the redemption from Mitzrayim through the words Pakot Pakati. Redemption did not begin with miracles, but with preserved words, and Serah was the guardian of those words across generations. She embodies the transition from hidden promise to revealed fulfillment. She restores Yaakov through song, authenticates Moshe through speech, and safeguards a verbal key to Geula. In this sense, Serah is the living Peh of Jewish history, the faithful mouth that carries memory through exile so that redemption can finally be spoken into reality. Arizal thought that saying the verse and the name of the daughter of Asher was Serah 3 times before sleep, forward and backward, protects from the evil eye and helps the soul rise spiritually during sleep. There's an interesting Persian tradition. Jewish tradition in Persia says Serah accompanied the Jewish people into later exiles and lived in Isfahan in the 9th century. There are stories of her confronting Shah Abbas I, to reverse decrees against the Jews. A synagogue in Isfahan was named for her. Local tradition says she disappeared in the 12th century after a mysterious fire. The building remained intact, but she was gone, believed to have ascended finally to Gan Eden. Let's bring it all together. The gentle messenger. She teaches that hard truths must be delivered with care and love. The guardian of memory. She preserves sacred words and ancient traditions, the power of experience. She reminds the sages what truly happened at the sea. The bridge across time. She lives across generations, showing that holiness does not fade. Serah bat Asher remains the eternal daughter of Israel, the one who saw the beginning and continues to stand watch over the faithful from her place above.